We're going to start another dimension today, or another critical dimension of growth journey, and that has to do with work, the W in growth. It has to do with work. So we're going to be exploring different areas of work, but for where I'm coming from, I would like to narrow it more to entrepreneurship because that seems to be the core of my focus at the moment. And I feel there are so many things I can share with you about that, how to build your entrepreneurial skill and how to also establish yourself in different areas of life using entrepreneurial skill. So we'll start looking at the mindset of an entrepreneur. Uh, if you follow through when we talked about the Groundworks Foundation, when we talk about relationship, when we talk about opportunities which we just ended last weekend, you will see the sequence of the build up, right? So some of the things I will be expunging from the previous conversation and bring up again is just to let us know that if you have successfully lay your hands on practicing those principles that we spoke about in G factor, R factor, and O factor, developing yourself as an entrepreneur will not be a difficult task at all. Trust me. You know, I've counseled quite a lot of people, including some of my contemporaries, in taking that leap of faith and taking the first step into the world of business in the marketplace. And the story and the challenges seems to be very similar in terms of, the fear of unknown, the uncertainties, right? So this is going to help you break that hurdle. It's going to help you break that barrier, that major barrier, plus other barriers I'm going to be showing us and talk about briefly here today. So I would just like you to be very attentive. And if any of these things align with you, you can also share from your personal point of view. I mean, from your own perspective. So never mind, you can interject, you can raise up your hand, you can drop comments in the chat box as we speak on, right? So we'll be focusing on entrepreneurial thinking and how the mindset can help us launch deep into exploring opportunities anywhere you find yourself, in whatever location, in whatever environment, you know. There is this story in the scriptures about um, Isaac that sowed in the land. You know, in fact, let me not even go into Isaac, talking about um, the father, Abraham. You know, it got to a point where Abraham had to separate with Lot, his cousin, because as they were journeying on, trying to move to the land where God actually posited him to be, right? It got to a point that they started growing. I mean, their flocks, their barn, everything started growing, and there became rivalry between or contention between the two families, right? And Abraham had to ask Lot to select a particular location where he would rather pitch his tent and let them, just part ways. Seems the mindset of these two people were totally different, and that's exactly how I wanted to approach life because living large in life and the possibility of you attaining your goals, the possibility of you achieving success largely depend on your mindset. I think I mentioned this to us when I was talking to you on I think the third day or the fourth day, about the book written by Robert Kiyosaki, The Rich Dad Poor Dad, that will separate these two people or these two categories of human being, intrinsically has to do with their mindsets. So it's important that we seriously explore this so that there has to be a shift in your mindset, a reorientation of how you perceive life and how you see things. Okay. Because that's the beginning of success in entrepreneurship. It's not how much of money you have for you to put as your capital base in terms of your investment portfolio or uh, the kind of people you are going to get to work with you in establishing your business. Those are necessarily not the intrinsic thing that you need as an entrepreneur. The first thing you need is for you to build the right mindset. Okay. When you're talking about the mindset of an entrepreneur, I would rather begin to look at it from the makeup of an entrepreneur. What really makes up an entrepreneur? I mean, for someone to say, "Oh, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a businessman," and all of that, what does it really mean? Okay, I would like to look at it from the posture. I would like to look at it from the the attitude, the characteristics of what a typical entrepreneur would look like. For me, the first thing you're going to see in an entrepreneur has to do with the ability to attain curious mindsets. I mean, you are just curious, right? I mean, you don't think life is straight. Earth is not rectangular, it's not square. You know, I remember in was it physics or geography way back in secondary school when they give us problems that has to do with the the surface of the earth and has to be calculating circumference. I'm always getting it wrong because I'm always like, how will I climb this kind of formula on my head, right? So life in itself requires some level of curiosity if you are going to succeed. And that's where you begin from. You have to have that restless and relentless mindset. You are not just okay with the norm. You are not okay with convention, the tradition. You are not just okay. You just want to explore to know how things are governed. You move into a new environment and they tell you these are the rules. You want to question those rules and like, why is it not the other way around? That's the mindset of curiosity, right? And in being curious, like we always say in our local parlance, that he who asks questions can never be wrong. You can't get it wrong, right? Because the more you ask questions, the more you dig deep into unveiling truth, the more you dig deep through questioning. Late Rav Zakari used to say this, that when you want to know someone who has the opportunity to uh, um, to be saved, right? It has to do with alignment of truth because truth is absolute. When you want to see or know someone who has that chance or the opportunity to be saved, it has to do with someone who questions almost everything. Remember, that was what happened to uh, uh what's it called now? The Pharisee that came to Jesus in John chapter 3. But let's not go into scriptures and unveiling some of these principles. Everything we are going to talk about, trust me, you can see them in the pages of the scriptures because they are very relatable, right? So having that mindset of questioning everything with the hope that you are going to get to dig deep to unveiling the truth about certain things is one of the things that will help you to grow an entrepreneurship mindset or a mindset of an entrepreneur. The second one has to do with creativity. Of course, there's no way you will ask questions on almost every aspect of life that you not begin to see life from a different perspective, because that's what creativity means. Creativity means that you think outside the box, you begin to see things from a different perspective. If everybody is saying square, you see square not just as square, but as a rhombus or as a parallelogram or as something else that, okay, why are you not putting angle beyond 90 degrees to a square? Why are you not putting, why must it be square? Why not rectangle? Right? So it's going to help you. And by the time you plot all these things in reality, you see that, you can actually innovate different results because creativity is actually the father of innovation. Because the more creative you are, the more you express creativity in life, in reality, the more you innovate new things, the more you invent new things. So it's one of the things that brings about that mindset that makes an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur. Then the third one talks about agility, the ability for you to be able to adapt to every situation, come what may, every situation, even when brimstone, firestorm is blowing everywhere, you are able to wade against the storm. You're on the high sea and you are facing terrible whirlwind. You are able to withstand it without complaining, without being agitated, without being over and anxious. This is what uh, uh, um, agility means, right? You are constantly disposed to adapt to changes. And this is one of the things that will make a true entrepreneur emerge successful. And you need to, look at your personal life if you are working or moving in any of this direction. Then the other one talks about resilience. There's no way you talk about adaptability. There's no way you talk about agility that you will not talk about resilience. These are more like Siamese twins. They go side by side. They are inseparable. When you want to see true agility, you want to see true adaptability skill or disposition, you will definitely see the evidence of resilience. And when people are saying Nigerians are resilient people, I really don't accept in reality. Yeah, I mean, on the surface value, because we don't complain, we rather prefer to suffer and smile. But that is not the true meaning of resilience. True meaning of resilience is in spite of the challenges, we are able to dispose ourselves to innovating new things. Okay, we are able to innovate new things out of all the problems that we're facing, as simple as even the problem of leadership. Have we been able to innovate new things? Have we been able to innovate new ways of solving our own problem? So these are part of the things that residents talk about, right? Not just you suffering and you're smiling, but in spite of the challenges, you're able to innovate new ways of coming out of that challenge. You're able to rebound, you are able to come back, you're able to stay alive, and then because it's only he who is alive that can actually, achieve success. So that is what true resilience means. There are other posture which you will naturally see. And let me just also mention this, that chances are that a typical entrepreneur may not have all of this posture, may not have all of these attributes all in one, right? Because there is no perfect entrepreneur out there. That is why, as you're pursuing your goals, as you're pursuing your business aspirations and objectives, chances are that you will fail repeatedly over and over and over again. So part of what failure will help you do is for you to develop new abilities, for you to develop new attitude, new traits that will augment for areas where you have failed. For instance, if you are someone, there are some people that, I mean, even as sole proprietor business owners, there are some people that did not survive COVID-19. COVID-19 required people to be creative, required people to be adaptable, required people to have that resilient spirit, and required people to give in to continuous learning. So those entrepreneurs that did not have this as part of their trait, they failed woefully and they could not experience business continuity throughout COVID-19, right? So it's important that when you face challenge, don't be discouraged as an entrepreneur, because you just need to do an assessment on yourself, all the stuff we've done on your personality type, blah, 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 and you consider areas of continuous improvement wherein you can then develop new abilities for you to bounce back, if it's in terms of resilience, or for you to learn new ways of doing things or solving your problems, which has to do with agility and all of that. Then you also have the attitude that has to do with problem solving. You'll see how these, beam directly into what this mindset is all about, because it's one of the pivots of the entrepreneurial mindset, solving problems. Then you also have the value proposition or value creation mindset, attitude of this mindset. Then you have the commitment to continuous learning. You don't have to be forced. Situation doesn't have to be the one that will incite you into seeking for new knowledge. You are always disposed, so you don't need to be an avid reader as an entrepreneur before you know that, as simple as you just even checking up on a daily basis, what we call the daily news, right? You want to check up updates, you want to check new trends, you want to check new events, you want to check just new news, right? How, whether it is a palatable news and whether it's not. I remember there was a time I told myself that I'm not going to be listening to local news again, because it's all just filled up with negativity and all of that. And that's where you also create a balance. When you're seeking for committing yourself to continuous learning, you have to ensure that it's targeted towards particular goals, right? Because sometimes when you don't know what you're looking for, you end up finding what you are not even cutting for, as it were. So you have to be intentional about your search for new knowledge so that you don't just get yourself entangled with frivolities and things that are not necessarily required, and then you are not really managing your time effectively. Then you also have the attitude of networking and connection. I mean, we've talked about all these as basic principles in the previous journey because they are also connected to how you seek opportunities, effective communication, your disposition to always being optimistic, then your level of resourcefulness, right? There's some people that they don't just have this attitude. They don't see anything positive about the environment. They are always pessimistic. They are always negative in their thinking. A genuine entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur will never have this kind of disposition because they will always seek opportunity in every situation. As everybody say, oh, Nigeria is terrible, Nigeria is this, Nigeria is that, we have bad leadership, people are dying, blah, 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 and all of that. You see people making billions of naira on a daily basis, new business. I was one of the companies that I'm consulting for and doing program management consultancy for, because of the expansion project we're working on. When we're looking at the books today, uh, between the fourth quarter of 2024 and the first 2 months of the year, pretty much the first month of this year, when they were showing the turnover of the investments and the revenue, I was wow that in this same country, on a simple or more trivialized, industry like where this business is operating, and they could turn over this kind of revenue. I'm like, wow, because they were trying to justify why we needed to even scale up the expansion because there is so much benefits even beyond what they calculated. It's more like someone hitting beyond this target in the short time. When you are planned for an ROI or rate of return, you're higher in almost like a medium term. And now in a short term, you are hitting all your goals. You are getting your ROI hit up and all of. I mean, that is something that is so fascinating, right? But how do you get to that point is when you embrace all these posture, when you embrace all these attitude. So never think that no matter how terrible, like I used to make jest with some of my friends, some of my partners in business, like if people could stay back in Afghanistan after all the wars, the bombing and all of that, and stay back and begin the rebuilding of Afghanistan, and they are making it. I mean, you can just go online and Google some of these things. There are businesses that are thriving in Afghanistan, right? Right there in the midst of, chaos, in the midst of crisis, in the midst of ruins, businesses are picking up, companies are growing. How much more, right? So what exactly it is that makes those entrepreneurs building those businesses, to defile against all odds and then survive the rains, survive the crisis. So these are the part of traits you see in them, optimistic mindsets and that level of resourcefulness against all odds. They can always get results, right? And they are always oriented towards ensuring that they take proactive actions, So these are part of the things that you'll see within the mindset of an entrepreneur, and you begin to see whether these are part of what you can assess in yourself. I'm sure some of us that have done the personality test, we could see, some of the questions were asked around this that show the analysis of whether you have any of these traits as well. So it can also help you. And if at all you have anyone, then there's an opportunity for you to begin to build and sharpen the skills. So let's now look at what exactly this entrepreneurship mindset is all about. For me, I see it as a way of you being able to identify opportunities. I talked to you about seeing, seeking, and seizing, right? So when you're talking about opportunity, these are the basic things that you can embrace in understanding what opportunity is. If you're able to see it, if it's something that you're able to search, you're able to evaluate, you're able to analyze, right? And then you're able to now take advantage of. Those are the three layers by which you can actually identify opportunity. You're able to see it because what you don't see, you cannot pursue. Then you have the zeal, you have the grit, the determination, you have the strength the agility for you to be able to pursue and seek. If it means that you are mining it like gold, if it means that you are breaking through the rock, you are going through the fire for you to be able to lay hold of it, then that's part of the mindset that we talked about then comes to bear. Like you have to be optimistic, you have to be resilient until, and of course, you have to be action and result oriented. So all of these things now come to play. Then another thing that I see this mindset portrays actually means that you have to focus on solving problems. This is one area that, I mean, when you see any success, just profile them. Is it from the them Dangote or from Winfrey? You see Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, all of these guys, they have all these things in common. They are always disposed to solving problems. In fact, they are seeking for problems. They are not waiting for problems to seek for them. So they think futuristically, they think in an utopian manner, whereby they begin to innovate the problem that will happen in the future. That's another level of solving problem, right? There are certain patterns of problems we see now that in the next 20 years, in the next 50 years, they are going to remain. We call them wicked problems. We call them nagging problems. So you have some people operating at a higher level of mindset, entrepreneurship mindset, who are going to start innovating, start thinking. When you look at a guy like, I mean, a man like Elon Musk, right? This is why he is standing out in the marketplace. Because I remember a few years ago when he started thinking about EV vehicles. At that time, we're actually working. I was part of a team that was working on one of the expansion projects for one of the trade centers for Toyota Nigeria here in Lagos. And I was challenging some of my colleagues and the projects in there that why is Toyota thinking, traditionally that with this huge amount of investment they are making on this service center, why are they not thinking in the future? Because in the shortest time, chances are that this system of service delivery might fade away. And guess what? In just 2 years after the center was completed, the service center was completed and commissioned, that's when Elon Musk came up. Tesla started rolling out into the market the EV vehicles with Tesla truck and co and all of that. And I'm like, you see what I'm talking about? The Tesla S series and all of that. I said, this is exactly what I'm talking about because now in just the space of less than a year, almost everywhere in Nigeria is almost going to be proliferated with EV vehicles. You see pockets of charging ports and all of that. And people can now start selling. So before long, you see that all these traditional vehicles that use fossil fuels and non-renewable energy will start fading off. So there are people who have this tangential way of thinking towards thinking futuristically, and then they bring to bear the reality of those problems, and then they begin to innovate out. Because sometimes the process of solving problem, which I'm going to show you shortly, would require us or will require the person to go through a long series of iterations, a long series of repeats. You fail, you fail, you fail. Look at Elon Musk before he successfully, launched Tesla. What's it called now? Tesla rocket into the space. I mean, he failed several times. There was a time recently, I think towards mid last year, when I was watching one of the launch, one of the launch, and it just few minutes after it took off from the launch pad, it just blew and then it came down and all of that. You can imagine how many millions of dollars would have just gone through that series of launch failure. So, but it did not give up, right? So this is exactly what it means when we are talking about the mindset, the thinking faculty, the thinking process. It has to be focused on solving a problem. And because you want to solve a problem until you have solved it, you are not giving up. Michael Faraday, all these physicists and great inventors. You have Isaac Newton, all of these guys. When you read their story, you see how many times they failed before they eventually came up with those solutions, which we are still relating with up to now and using as part of ways to, make life meaningful for us. I don't know if Faraday never came up with the electricity theory, or if the Newton's laws were never invented, were never propounded, were never turned into principles. We won't have all those thermodynamics that is making planes to fly in the air, and so many other innovations that came as a result of their own success in their pursuit. So you see your goal this year like that, that if you are able to succeed in achieving your goal, there are so many other destinies, there are so many other people's dreams and aspirations, there are so many other lives' vision that are connected to your own goal success, which if you fail and you refuse to succeed because of a different mindset you have, which is not oriented towards success or result, chances are that these other people too are going to struggle through life. So that is how important it is. And of course, the final aspect of this definition is that it also focuses, I mean, this mindset focus on creating value, and this is where we emphasize on the value proposition that is associated with everything you want to do. You must be able to deliver benefits to people, whatever it is. It's not just about driving self-interest. It's not just about, okay, the money as it were. Like I used to tell people in business, money should not be your first thinking, because why many businesses will never survive the test of time is because the orientation, the mindset, the thinking of the drivers or the directors or the managers of the business are focused majorly on profit. They are focused majorly on money. Money should be a consequence of actions that have been taken. So either you are going to earn profit, you're going to maximize profit, or it's going to be losses. It's as a result of how you have worked on your mindset. If your mindset is not tilted towards growth, if your mindset is not tilted towards seizing opportunities, if your mindset is not towards you solving problems, creating values, delivering benefits to people, there is no way you can achieve and maximize profits. There's no way, right? There's no way. So these are part of the things that will help you establish that. And then there is this other one which I added to it, which has to do with, seeing possibilities. And this is exactly what optimism means. In spite of the situation, you are able to see the positive side of every situation, because there is no hopeless situation. As long as you are breathing, as long as you are alive, as long as you are alive, there's always that A that is associated with living. And that means that there is always the beginning of every situation. You may not know the end, but there's always the beginning. So how you navigate through life to determine where life begins is what determines the limit of possibilities, right? So you need to get to that point where you constantly seek to know where this thing begins from. And once you're able to determine where it begins from, nobody knows how it's going to end. Like imagine Faraday, all of these guys, Isaac Newton, all those things that they started, all those, even including what Elon Musk is doing now, is going to transcend generations, because the level of impact, the level at which these innovations, these solutions are delivering values and benefits to us in these current times is just going to survive even their own thinking and their own mindset. And this is exactly what it means when you embrace possibilities, because you never can tell. It's like someone that is given a box and you have to unbox it. You don't really know how much valuable things are already placed inside. It's until when you unveil it, when you unbox it, when you open it, and then you begin to see, you keep pulling, you keep pulling, you keep pulling, you keep drawing out, and it's endless. So that's how it is. And of course, like we mentioned previously, that there is no limit to any human being that is driven by purpose. You are limitless as long as you are living a purpose-driven life. You are limitless, because the sky is going to be the beginning of your limits. And beyond the sky, I don't know what else in the universe. More so that now we are even exploring multiverse and many dimensions of the universe. So there is no, it's just limitless. Um, Earlier today, I listened to some narratives that Kunle was given in, I think he had a session, a podcast session or a live session on Instagram yesterday. And I was listening to how he explained that dark matter and, you know, and dark energy. And I'm like, okay, I thought I know more about this theory, but I'm seeing it from another dimension. It was talking about what constitutes dark matter and dark energy. You know,
makes up about 95, put both together, makes up about 95% of realities in life, which we have not even been able to explore. Everything you see with all these inventions, with all these solutions we are inventing, we are doing, you have the electricity, you have the aircraft, you have the electric vehicles. Now you are talking about, atomic energies. You are talking about nuclear energies. You are talking about electron energies. All of these things are within the space of 5% of the capacity that the universe bears. So at what point and at what time in human reality that we are going to touch the next 95 years? I'm saying this so that you know that when you're talking about limitation, it's just for you to be able to define that there is no end to possibilities. It depends on how far you can see, how long you can pursue or seek, and then how great you can seize in order for you to be able to establish value in solving problems. That's what will determine the limit. But never limit yourself in any area of your venture or in any area of your endeavor. Okay, so the other challenge is now how to seek for opportunity. Um, I wouldn't want to dwell on seeing opportunities because all you just need to do is just go and sleep. I mean, make sure you have that calm, cool, collected, disposition and just go and sleep. Make sure you don't watch horror movie to sleep. You will definitely dream and dream big, right? So seeing will not be a problem because as long as you begin to embrace all these mindsets, sometimes you begin to see, in deja vu, you begin to see in I mean, some people will even talk about apparition, how you are seeing events that is being revealed to you. Some will say, okay, as you read pages of books, as you hear from people, even as we're conversing now, you can begin to picture, some movies you've watched, you begin to put things together because some of them are futuristic movies. That's why I like watching sci-fi movies, scientific fictional movies, because it helps you to kind of like have great insights. You can see into the year 2100, the year 2020, what would life look like? How will the kind of buildings people will be living in look like that time? Will people even be walking on Earth, or gravity will have been, taken away from Earth, and then everybody will be floating. So all these things you'll be able to have some level of imaginative thinking. That's what seeing is all about. But that shouldn't be our preoccupation. The main pain point for most young professionals or entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, or people even having that guts and the confidence to move into the dimension of setting up enterprises is them seeking for opportunities, how to seek for opportunities. Where do you need to seek for those opportunities? Because if you're able to seek, learn how to seek for opportunities, you have the audacity to step into the unknown, into the uncertain, into the volatile, into the complex and the ambiguous dimensions that you find within the business environment or within the marketplace. So, how can you navigate through this as you're seeking? Number one, you can take advantage of market gaps. Again, this is clearly associated with you learning new things. I was sharing with you sometime last week, every year how I commit myself, invest into ensuring that I get updates. In fact, today I got another one, about the global economics and all of that. So you can, and as long as people are doing research, they are publishing outlooks, they are publishing their findings, their research findings. You need to be positioned because these are things that will give you indices or indications in different areas of the industries, especially where you have interest or where your purpose aligned. I mean, where you align with your purpose. These are places where you will have insights, where you're going to have understanding of gaps. And what do we mean by gaps? Areas where there are necessary demand for problems to be solved. Okay, there is a call. There is like a request that we need people that will come and solve problem in this area, right? That's what we mean by market gaps. Okay, because there are myriad needs, there are requirements that are yet to be met, and they need people who have the capacity, who have the understanding that can deliver those creative solutions. Okay, those ingenious solutions in bridging the gap. So that's one of the ways by which you can seek for opportunity. So if I were you, I will not just look anytime you are on Google, anytime you just want to type and search for market gaps in particular industry where you are aligned, right? If it's going to be in construction, if it's in economy, if it's in money market, if it's in industrial area, if it's in education, whatever area is, just seek for market gaps or companies or people who are conducting research in market gaps in that particular industry. You'll see information that you can leverage on. Then the other one is for you to look at the trends in technology advancements, because technology is one of the things that is facilitating processes, that is facilitating the level at which possibilities are going to be turned into impossibilities are going to be turned into reality in this current generation. So you cannot shy away from technology trends. So again, every year I always look for minimum about 3 different global companies. I have Gartner, I have World Economic Forum, I have World Bank, and I have what's the name of this other one? McKinsey. I have these 4 companies that I always look out for their predictions, their outlooks, because they will have conducted research and publish, 10, sometimes they will say 5, sometimes they will say 7 technology skills or technologies to watch out for and all of that. And they have always been very, very precise with their predictions because it's as a result of empirical findings, empirical data that they develop from their research. So these are part of the things that you need to also leverage on in order for you to be able to know areas where opportunity abounds. For instance, if they are telling you if there are a lot of indices and a lot of indices that is saying that in the next 5 months, you know, everybody will have to switch to use of 5G technology. You know definitely that there's going to be a lot of opportunity around 5G network, right? So it's an opportunity if you have inclination in telecommunication. You know that that is the area that you need to start thinking on how to make investment, and you begin to do research and search more on how you can leverage on whatever possibility is in that dimension. So the same thing you do with any other forms of technology. We know about AI now. Data is driven is one of the things that is driving every inclusion in AI. Either you talk about ChatGPT, or you talk about Google Gemini, or you talk about the Chinese DeepSeek that is just out, or you talk about Copilot. All of these things are driven by data. So big data is still a big sell, is still a big, great opportunity in the world of technology, right? So you want to leverage on this if that is your niche. Then you also talk about social trends. This is more inclined to people who are within the sociological industry, the sociology industry. Also, you want to continue to observe the behavioral pattern of people. You want to continue to observe the cultural changes and cultural innovations. At the time, DEI became a very pronounced stuff, and every organization started switching towards developing DEI, and they were even looking for DEI experts, people that will help them, tailor whatever their organization objective is towards embracing DEI. So these are things that so who says as a sociologist, who says as a psychologist, you cannot be an expert or you cannot be a consultant in DAI if that is the social trend, right? Another time we talked about, corrective behaviors, how people need to understand how to have alignment with good behavior, because there are so many, there are so many deviants, now within our culture. People no longer understand the difference between right and wrong, good and bad, righteous and unrighteous. So there's a need for people to bridge that gap, right? So these are some of the things that you have to observe. And nothing stops even an individual to also embark on research. A friend of mine reached out 2 days ago, and because we have alignments in similar area of interest, and it was just giving an idea that, he noticed this trend in the north. That is something we can actually, write papers and stuff around, because it's going to help policy making and decision making process, even at the international level. I said, wow, I've never thought about this, because I thought it's just there. Things with Nigeria is just so slow for picking up. And he said, no, that's this is a niche, and why, even if it's going to be because of future generation, because there will always come a generation that will need this kind of information. Just like some of the things Elon Musk is doing now, there are information that has been documented way past before us, which he is now leveraging on and turning out to become innovative solutions and all of. So the same thing. So you just need to begin to focus on those critical areas where you think that you can explore and leverage on the available opportunities. Then you talk about your personal experiences, which is indeed personal to you. Nobody can take it away from you. Whatever it is that you have experienced within the space where you have walked, where you have traversed, you just need to express it. As simple as the challenges you faced in life, they can become body of knowledge. I engaged a PhD research, postdoctoral research student recently, and she was talking to me about how she feels there is a new area of development in project management that even at the global level, the PMI has not been able to explore. And by the time she was done explaining things, I was like, wow, I've been practicing for over 15 years in this industry, and I've never seen this from this perspective. He said, so we need to collaborate. I said, yeah, this is great. And of course, having come into that reality, I'm like, these are kind of strategies. So there are certain personal experiences that will give you a unique way of solving problems. A unique, because you have already seen it all within that space and within the time by which you experience those challenges. You can turn them. It's also a skill. When you turn around a problem, a pain point, a struggle into valuable hands, right? Into valuable hands. So you need to develop this aggression towards ensuring that everything, either positive or negative, are converted into positive. In mathematics, we have minus times minus becomes positive, right? Positive times positive become positive, but negative times positive is negative. Positive times negative is negative. So that's the way life is. If you don't do something with whatever it is that you have faced in life, either good or bad, you cannot see the opportunities that are lying. So everything, this is just a summary of what I'm saying. Everything you have gone through, everything you are going through are just for a purpose, and they are aligned with your main reason. I mean, what we define to be purpose. So you need to just discover them and then see how you can turn them into value, okay, which will now become a stream of benefit for so many people. I'm sure the first day, the person that invented, uh, uh, um, you know, I don't want to use automobile because I've said that several times. The person that invented, uh, which I mean, just think about any problem. The person that invented it must have gone through the process of product development. One, it will be because the person is having challenges with that same problem, like someone that developed a vaccine to solve a particular disease or something like that must have had, if not him, someone very close to him or something, and that desire would drive the person to continue to do the research. When you see someone build an hospital for special treatment and all of that, is because someone within the family or that is very close to the person had suffered similar, and we were like, it's going to end on this man. So that is how I want you to approach your struggles and your challenges. That particular challenge should end with you, because we are going to innovate solutions and ways by which people can navigate and even scale through and not be caught in the web of that problem or challenge. I've talked about global trends. There are several topical trends that you can find in. Chief of it has to do with sustainability. Anything you are doing in this current time that does not align with sustainable way of living or doing things is not globally compliant, right? It's not just about technology. How are you complying with sustainability principles? Are they environmental friendly? Whatever it is, even your business that you are setting up, are they environmental friendly? Just a couple of weeks ago, Lagos State signed into law that we're going to start transiting into, environmental friendly processes. They started with plastic bottles. Now they've moved into what's it called now? Non-recyclable, non-biodegradable polyethylene or something like that. So when you go to some supermarket stores now, they will tell you they are not going to give you your items with nylon, except you want to buy paper bags and all of that. So it's just all about the concept of sustainability, because we want to start eliminating whatever it is that has high carbon footprint so that we start decarbonizing our environment, right? Because every human activity, we add that there's a way we contribute in tonnage to the carbon footprint globally, but there has to be intentional efforts to processes that we need to do to decarbonize, and that's what sustainability means. So these things are part of what you can really, put your ideas on. And if you are looking for what to do about business, you can now begin to ideate stuff. So what are the necessary tools that you can use? You see, all those principles we've talked about in terms of you conducting SWOT analysis, using your networking skills, your effective communication skills. These are ways by which you can understand how to seize, how to take hold of opportunities by the time you seek them. Okay. I remember the first time I moved into the construction industry. I thought I was going to just be practicing as an architect, right? Because that's my primary discipline. Okay. But after doing a few projects, I realized that even architecture is not really, really selling per se. If you just want to practice the normal way we practice here in Nigeria, there are some client that doesn't want to pay you for, in fact, we still discuss about it with some friends. I still discuss about this with some friends today. They don't want to pay you. You do rendering, you do this, you do that. By the time you give them bill, you're like, supposed to have, do some of these things, pro bono and all of that. They can't pay commensurate to some of the airport. I was telling someone, I said, ideally, if I render an image, is between $80 to $100 per image. The person say, wow. I say, yeah. Go online and see what our contemporaries outside of Nigeria are earning as a result of, their graphics and skills and all of that. More so, you now have AI. But guess what? In Nigerian industry, in the built industry in Nigeria, most clients will not pay for some of these things. How many architectural firms are even paying well for intern architect or young architects to grow and all of that? So I saw that challenge and I told myself, Bola, you are not going to limit yourself just to practice an architect. So what and what do I need to do for me to be able to seize opportunity within this industry and do more than just being an architect? And I saw that, oh, I can be a project manager. Oh, I can be a builder. Oh, I can be a consultant. So I began to build myself in that. At the end of the day, I knew that there is no one single, I'm telling you my personal experience now, there is no one single organization that can take someone who will have all of this, inclination, all of these skills and be able to pay the person whatsoever. Someone called me today, one of my colleagues called me today. I was trying to take counsel that he has a project. How much should he charge? Blah, blah, blah. By the time I explained to him, one, globally, this is the rate, this is a fee. But locally, because you know the way by which you have actually built your own capacity, right? This is what you can actually get. So that is how you will be able to identify opportunities and seize opportunity. You know your self-worth because you are self-aware about your capacity, right? And you know if you move in this direction, right? Maybe because you have that inclination towards multitasking, you have built competencies in multi areas and multi-dimensional fits or purpose in terms of value delivery, then you will be able to move in any of the directions that you are seeing within the industry. That is how opportunities work, because opportunities are always there. And sometimes when you are confused about how to even identify this opportunity, because sometimes they can be so clogging, you can, just like the people that have been mentioning to you, call me trying to seek for this, you can always ask, you can always make a call to people that you feel has that understanding within the industry that can help you navigate through this process of identifying the opportunity and for you to be able to seize it. But guess what? The opportunities are so many in the industry. Any of the industries that you want to navigate through, the opportunities are there. So it's just your own capacity to be able to identify all these opportunities. So I'm rounding up now. Part of the barriers that you're going to face, daredevil. That's the way I call some of these barriers, because they can be so nagging, they can be so annoying. You might think that you've known it all, and all of a sudden it will just show up with his enticement again and all of that. I just this evening I had to deal with one of these kind of barriers, which is even more political than not on the project. Most times we might feel that barriers come from within, but hey, when you have even conquered the barriers that are within, right? The ones that are not within, that are external to you, also show face. They also become eminent that you need to deal with. But those ones that are within, like you getting your groove and understanding that you can, having that resilience, okay, having the sense of optimism, you have to be able to overcome whatever fear, whatever phobia you have, right? For you to be able to seek those opportunities and identify them. Then understanding that you cannot give in to fixed mindsets. You have to understand you need to move in the direction of growth is another way by which you can overcome the barrier. So regardless of whatever limitations, impossibility, oh, nobody has ever done this before. Nobody is a lie. There is nothing that is new under heaven. If you search well, if you seek well, if you do your study properly, you carry out your case study, you will see that someone, it might be in the 1960s, it might be in the 1950s, it might be in the Second Republic or third generation or whatever. Someone somewhere has started that process. It's just that the person gave up, and then is now an opportunity for you to. So you need to have the mindset that it is possible, and that will help you to move towards the direction of growth. Then you also have complacency, because people that always give excuses and they are not always in search of knowledge. One of the easy way for you to even overcome complacency is when you give yourself to learning, because the more you know, the more you build confidence in yourself. So for me, confidence is the antidote to complacency. And how do you build confidence? You need to seek for knowledge. You need to keep knowing. Read word. No knowledge is lost. Read every opportunity you see to read, to learn. Read. Read about science, read about medicine, read about art, read about commerce at your own leisure. You prioritize. There are certain things that you need to focus on the immediate, but at your leisure, you can always read any other thing. Those five minutes of Pomodoro, you can take it out, or during your lunch break and all of that. You can read and expand your horizon, your knowledge base. That will make you easily overcome that, right? But look at the ones that are actually external. Part of it has to do with politics, because everything about human being has to do with politics. People will play politics with emotions. People will play politics with your lack of knowledge and inexperience. So how do you deal with this? How do you overcome it? You need to be resilient, right? No matter what people think about you, most times people judge you wrongly. They think you don't know simply because maybe your personality type is that you don't talk a lot, you don't, and so because of the hidden nature that you always dispose, they always feel that they know you to all and all of that, only for them to see your results. So one of the ways by which you can overcome the external barrier is showing your result. I always tell people, nobody, not even a madman, nobody can dispute results. It's just like when you see a first class student, even those people that hate the person will always come around to celebrate. Your haters, when you succeed, your haters will always come around. So you rather want to focus, let them be playing their politics, let them be backbiting, let them be playing their emotional games and all of that. You just focus on ensuring you get against all odds, whatever it takes, whatever sacrifice is required, make sure you get your results. You see that your success and your victory will be seamless, and everybody who has been your hater will become part of your support group and cheerer. So that's one of the things that has helped me. So I rather focus on achieving success against all odds and let it be. And they will always go around to verify. In business, they will always go around. They will test your trust. They will test your integrity. They will test your consistency. All of these things, they will always find it to be true at the end of the day when you succeed. And probably they might even ask you, how did you get about it? Despite all these antagonism, despite all these barriers, how did you come about? Then you can now become a champion who will show them the way to navigate through, right? So I'm going to stop here because of time, because part of the things that will enable you to begin to move and take action in this direction, I've mentioned them, but you just need to now make it as part of your goal this year. For instance, in those areas of your trajectory, in those areas where you are setting your goals, how much do you know? Now is the time for you to begin to come up with questions that you need to ask, right? Because if you don't ask those questions, when you start moving towards it, you begin to see challenges, you begin to see problems, you begin to see all these barriers. Are there certain questions you need to ask? You need to pull them together, and you can seek for help. You can get support in order for you to be able to establish several questions. Why will someone establish an objective and then put uh, FAQ, for instance, is because they need to emphasize whatever the problem will be. Excuse me, they need to emphasize whatever the problem will be and kind of like prefer solution before people even identify with the problem. So just imagine the way you want to pursue those goals. You need to create your FAQs, right? You need to create your FAQs. And in attempt to answer those questions you're going to come up with, trust me, you are going to see your goals from a different perspective and then define how you're going to achieve it. Then you need to ensure that you embrace working with other people, networking, connection. You cannot underestimate the impact. You cannot underestimate the impact. In fact, after I tried my first business, ran it for 1, 2 years, I now realize that no, this is not something. If I'm going to grow at the rate I dreamt, if I'm going to grow at the rate at which I desire, there is no way I alone can push this thing. You know, so now I'm not just only partnering with 1, 2, so I can even diversify into several areas of business opportunities, right? Because I have the confidence that this person, that person can man this area, manage this area with sense of responsibility. So this is one of the things that you can also do. So right from the outset, you don't need to work in silo, help and work within collective interest, work within areas where you can easily navigate through networking and connect with other people. So I'm going to stop here and I'm going to open the platform for question. Maybe there are particular area of businesses you are struggling with and I've not really touched. I would like us to ask questions or just comment on some of these principles about the mindset of a genuine entrepreneur. And do you think after this session, you can take that leap of faith in order for you to pursue your business? Something just came to my mind now, which I didn't mention to you, and I think is going to be very, very important. It was Brett Tracy that said this. I read it many years ago in one of his books. There is no way, no amount of commitment. Please listen carefully. No amount of commitment, no number of years you're going to invest in working for and in someone else's business that is going to make you to rise up to that person's portfolio. This is what I mean. No matter how you shape, style, and form yourself as an employee, you can never rise above your employer. Please think about it. Think very, very deep. Who is an employee? Someone that is being paid for the service they offer. And who is an employer? Someone that pays someone to deliver a service. So this is just a principle. There is no way someone receiving payment for delivering a service can rise above the person that is paying you on that same service above him. Just think about it. So it will take more than you just receiving payment for service that you are delivering for you to be able to either be in the same term in terms of competing in the sense of you are in the same marketplace, you are fulfilling your purpose, and he too is fulfilling his purpose, or she too is fulfilling his purpose, right? It will take you to take that leap of faith to follow all these things I talked about in terms of looking for areas where you want to solve problems and innovatively develop ways by which you want to deliver value in those areas where you will now become someone that is paying someone to be able to support, collaborate, and work together with you in order to deliver that value. That is what exactly entrepreneurship means. So until you embrace entrepreneurship, then you cannot get to the point whereby you rise either at the same level or above your um, employer. And the question is, can you be an entrepreneur and still be an employee? Absolutely, yes. Many of us started journey like that, while some that are very fortunate started without being an employee. But yeah, you can definitely start your entrepreneurship journey while you are still receiving salaries or you are being paid for delivering services to a certain set of people under guidance and you are building yourself. So the question is, do you think it is something that you'll be able to start right now, by thinking through all these principles and then be able to see how you can package, your goals and direct your goals towards solving problems by which you can now begin to earn. Okay. So any question? Any comments? Any question? Any comments?
Thank you very much, sir, for today.
Welcome.
This topic interests me a lot because I love entrepreneurship. So what I would add to what you've said, just to highlight what I learned or what dropped in my mind when you were talking about opportunities. So I just said opportunities also in identifying the people, like I mean the team, the partners that you need for success to be a part of the vision, not just opportunities maybe in assets, but also in people for that would understand what you're pursuing and become a part of it. And then one other thing I picked was when you talked about complexity, like it's very true. When you're not personally, when I'm not knowledgeable about a particular thing, I feel very scared of claiming that I am an authority in it because I know I'll be lying to myself and I know I wouldn't deliver much value. But when I get the required knowledge, there's this confidence that even if you're saying otherwise, I might not reply you, but you can't move me from my result, something like that. That's what I have to say.
Excellent. Thank you for reiterating that. So, yes, you are very correct. Opportunities also lie in you identifying the right set of resources, the right kind of people to collaborate with, because it's not everybody you can collaborate with, right? So there has to be alignment. There has to be strategic alignment. Can two work together except they be agreed? Someone, no matter how creative, how competent the person is, if the person does not align with your own goal, there will always be conflict. That's why you see two business partners fighting each other. One's preoccupation or one's mindset is focused on money, while the other person is focused on solving problem. Even in the process of solving problem, if you have to fail several times before you get it, the other person is never going to be. So these are part of the things that you carefully, and that's part of the nitty-gritty of you determining who you can network with, the community you can, connect with, and all of that. We've dealt about this when we talked about connections and building networks. So all these things come to bear. Thank you. Then maybe I should also emphasize on this. By the time you are thinking and ideating what problem you want to solve, one of the things you need to also put at the back of your mind is you have to think global, right? Even though you are starting local, but think global. I think we discussed it extensively as well. When we're talking about the growth mindset, you need to think global. Don't localize your idea, even though with the level of opportunity you are seeing that you want to seize, it might be local. But what you have done invariably is you have given yourself large possibility, right? That in the next 5 years and the next 10 years, I will still be relevant pursuing this thing or doing this thing. That's what it means when you think global. And guess what? Many a times, this has happened to me several times. You wouldn't even have solved the local needs before opportunity abounds for you to begin to see global access. That's what usually happens. So when you see someone within the first 3 years of starting up a business, is already connecting. I mean, I can give you several even local examples. You have all these new um, um, non-commercial banks are just springing up. Money Points, you have Paga, all of these guys, even Flutterwave, all of these guys. I mean, within the space of 3 years of starting up, they're already spreading across the entire Africa continent. How are they doing it? It's because they started out thinking big. They weren't thinking their solution is not only oriented to solving Nigerian problem. They came up with ideas that can be replicated and scaled up anywhere in the world. And it's just a matter of time before investors begin to see the possibilities that, oh, this is a worthwhile investment. This is a worthwhile investment. So that's the same way you need to also approach your entrepreneurial thinking. Thank you. Any other comments, question, contribution? Or you want to remove from everything I've said? Or some of the things I've said? Okay. Nobody's talking. I should let you go and ponder on this, right? So you've got an assignment to do on this. You've done your goal setting. So you need to look at your goals. Do you have any of the goals that is tilted towards business or entrepreneurship? If you don't, then that means that you need to, because the first rule, what we call entrepreneurship 101, the first rule is every human being is an entrepreneur, looking at it from the perspective of solving problem. So whether you like it or not, there's something inherent in your purpose that has to do with a problem that you need to solve, at least one. So that is the entrance of entrepreneurship for you. So if you don't have anything in that regard in your goal setting, so you need to set one, at least one. So set your goals, and then what idea do you have around that goal? I mean, for instance, if you're talking about the idea, what's the problem? Let me tell you one. For me, maybe the goal is this year I want to set up a service delivery in maybe in logistics, right? There's a need I want to really meet in logistics. So the question is, what is that need? What's the idea about? Even if you don't have a clear picture of what it is, it's now an opportunity for you to begin to, go through the process of ideation, because when you look at all these areas of exploring opportunities, then you can now begin to dive into it. How do you collect information? How do you get, uh, uh, um, how do you assess data in the market to determine market gaps? But before you even go into developing business case, because that's why I'm not talking to you about business case. I'll have just come here and tell you this is how to develop a business proposal for starting a business. No, that's not even you can do 1,000 business proposal and yet none will thrive, because the fundamental thing has not been addressed. And that's which is the mindset. The mindset at which you are going into the business is the most important thing. And that's what we have addressed here. So that is what I want you to work on, to be sure that you are even really going to be serious in stepping out. Leave every other thing, right? In terms of how to now develop a business case, how to develop the business proposal, let's address the issue. What is the idea about, right? And how are you going to create, streams of solving the problem through the ideation process? Do you think you have the resilience? Part of the challenge you're going to face might be you even obtaining permits or license in pursuing that. So how resilient are you going to be to ensure that you still stay put until you get that license? So these are all the things that I want you to just take time to think about. And then we can now talk about the validity of those ideas before you can say you want to pursue them. I'll still share this in the group. I mean, when I'm doing the communication, so that you can be able to work on it. Okay. So thanks, Dr. Folashade, for the feedback. I see you said me too. Great. So let's just work on this. I think we should stop here if there's no other comments and there's no other feedback. So I wish you all the best in setting up your businesses. And please, you can rest assured to consider me as one of your early investors.
Noted.